Okay. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me to your show.
Oh, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to be talking about your book. You've got a new book out called The Secret World of Children. And before we get to your book, though, I want to just do a little backstory on you. I see a bunch of letters after your name, LCSW. What does that stand for?
It's licensed certified social worker.
Okay.
So it's beyond your master's degree.
It's beyond a master's degree. Okay, but it's not a
Yeah.
PhD.
No.
Oh, I didn't know there was an in between.
Well, kind of. You take an exam.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you get a master's degree and then you take the exam and then you get the LCSW.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I learned something new today. All right. How long have you been doing that?
I've been working as a social worker for over 30 years.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So is your primary role you work with families with children?
Yes, I'm basically, my specialty is a parenting expert, but I also do work with adults and children individually.
Okay, do you do counseling?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
So people would come to you with issues with their kids and you would try to work it out with them?
Yes, often they'll come complaining that their child is hitting or their child is refusing to do homework or failing in school. And we'll try to understand what's happening and I'll try to help them.
There's an old saying that says children don't come with an owner's manual. And I'm looking at your book thinking maybe this is an owner's manual for people with children.
I think it is, and that was my goal. I think parents don't understand their children, and when they see their child behaving in a way that's scary or frightening them, they just don't understand why they're behaving that way, and they don't know what to do. And in my book, I explain exactly why children are behaving in a certain way, and that it all comes down to 9 natural developmental issues that follow them from infancy all the way to adolescence.
Okay, so with children who are having behavioral issues, is it exclusively the parents' fault?
No, a lot of the behavior we see is just a child being a child. For example, a couple of weeks ago, some parents who were very frantic came to me. We don't know what to do. Our 3-year-old was playing, and when I started to feed the new baby, he ran over and he kicked me in the leg. We don't use any violence in the home. Is he bad? Is he going to be on a therapist's couch forever? And it's just, this has to do with natural development. And I can explain that to you. If you observe a tiny baby wakes up from a nap, is hungry, screaming for food, and he starts thrashing around, kicking his feet. He shows his feelings physically. And a 3-year-old is not so far from being a baby, so a 3-year-old still shows his feelings with his body. And it's only over time that we teach them you need to use words to express yourself. We don't hurt anybody.
Is there one particular thing that you see over and over again with children? A similar pattern, similar behavioral pattern?
Well, the patterns that I see are all related to these developmental issues, the 9 of them that I outlined in the book. For example, a child will be walking with you in a supermarket, sees a toy on the shelf, and throws himself on the floor and says, "I want it." And mom says, "Yes, but I just bought you toys in the other stores that we were in." And it can look like the child is a selfish child, the child is greedy, but in essence, it's just that children experience their needs as urgent, just like a little baby feels, I must have food, I must have my mother right now. As they grow up, they still experience their needs as urgent. And we even see this in teenagers. If you're in the store and you refuse to buy a pair of sneakers for your child may have a tantrum. It's urgent to them, life and death. But it's only over time as we help them understand, no, we might get this another time, or it's not life and death.
There was a debate about discipline, at least when I was growing up. I'm old enough to be of the spanking generation. And as I was growing up, that became more out of favor. And do you think spanking was a good idea or not?
No, if you think about it, you're the parent and you are the example of a loving relationship. So in this loving relationship, you don't want to give your child the message, it's okay to hurt each other. And spanking is using force, and it does hurt. And so it affects the child negatively, because that's the image of a loving relationship. It includes harm. And then later on in life, you may find that an adult is choosing partners who are a bit harsh with them. And the child can accept it because they're used to it.
So what do you recommend then in lieu of spanking if a child is exhibiting bad behavior? How do you stop it in its tracks?
Well, I often tell parents, okay, make believe your child is a traveler on Star Trek, and he's come to this land and he doesn't know how to behave. He never had the experience before. So we're going to act as a mentor, as a teacher. Okay, in this situation, you were angry at me because I was talking to your older sister about school and you wanted my attention. You cannot hit, you cannot go under the table. We set a limit. And then we say, but if you talk to me, tell me what you're feeling or tell me what you're thinking, we can figure out what to do in that situation. So you're basically setting a limit, you're encouraging verbal expression of feelings.
I want to hit one of your talking points on your bio. It says current events, how to diminish school shootings, coping with children's fears and anxieties about war and natural disasters. When I grew up, there was no such thing as a school shooting. It was unheard of. Now it seems like it's almost a daily occurrence, and people are becoming sort of numb to it. I remember when Columbine happened, it was completely outrageous and it went on in the news cycle for weeks and weeks. Now, it might be a day or two if there's a school shooting and it's forgotten about. I'm sure that the children who have to endure that are traumatized by it for a lot longer than it stays on the news cycle. What do you recommend for those children who have had to experience something like that?
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Kids are traumatized by this. There are children who don't want to go to the bathroom when they're in school. They refuse to go because they're afraid they're going to get hurt. They don't want to leave the safety of the classroom. I think that there's no way to whitewash the whole thing because it raises anxiety, just as nuclear war used to raise children's anxiety when they had to go under the desks, and that was supposed to keep them safe. Well, kids don't really feel safe in the schools. They don't. So the best we can do is talk about it, talk about their feelings. You know, if you ever feel frightened or if you ever feel anxious, talk to me about it. So they don't have to live with it in their hearts, in their head, and have no option to verbalize their feelings. Also, to talk to them about the practice that they're doing at school. What do you do if there's a shooter in the school, and go over the safety measures that they're being taught at school, and then maybe even practice them at home. And also, I think, to explain to children that this is a horrible thing. It's being done by kids often, pretty young, who are very, very unhappy, disturbed, messed up, whatever. Something bad has happened in their life, and this is their way of taking it out on the world, but they shouldn't be doing this, and it's very wrong.
I was going to ask you that about schools. Are schools doing training for a potential shooter?
I think some schools are better than others. Some schools really put a lot of effort into it, and they are training teachers, and they are having training sessions with the children. But I think that there are schools that aren't focusing enough on it. As we can see, some kids are still getting inside with weapons, and so they're not focusing enough. They need to focus more on preventing someone from getting into the school and from training teachers and the children.
Well, Meri, we got to wind this down. We are just quickly running out of time. The book is called The Secret World of Children. Is the book out now?
It's coming out in October, the beginning of October.
Okay. Is pre-order available?
It will be.
It will be. Okay. Last question. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Sure. www.Meri Wallace, MEriWallace.com.
Okay. And there's information about the book and how to order from your website?
It's how to order it from Amazon.
Okay. There's links to it. Yeah.
Links to Amazon.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming on. I know this is a big topic. We could have gone on for a lot longer, but I think we gave people a good overview of your book. Best of luck with the book launch, and I hope it's a success.
Thank you so much, and thank you again. I really enjoyed myself today.